Okay. Yeah. So let's start. Okay. So we'll take the first example that we took in the first session, right? So let's suppose there is a user. Okay. And you have a website. Okay. And then you have some kind of a DB, right? So this is DB. This is server. Okay. User. Okay. And the user is making the request to the server, and for some of the tasks you need to fetch the data out of the database, okay, and then serve to the user. Now you thought probably this database is a more towards the disk based access, right? So what is disk based access? So first let's take the example of on a normal computer, right? What is the typical RAM size that you guys have? 4 GB, 8 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB, or something like that, right?
Right.
And what is the disk size or the storage size? Probably 128 GB, 256 GB, right? In the mobile as well. And probably in laptop or computer, it goes to around 1 TB kind of a thing, right? And nowadays, if you see, the computers are coming with a different configuration. Let's suppose 1 TB of the hard drive, okay, and 256 GB of SSD, right? And you guys prefer using or purchasing the laptop who has this SSD capability, right? Yes or no? So these
Yes.
SSD makes the access really quicker, right? So these SSD access are much faster. So why don't you think this entire 1 TB is converted into this SSD only? And why not have the 1 TB SSD rather than having the 1 TB HDD?
It will be very costly.
Yeah, because the SSDs are very costlier. So it is something like, if you'll see, as the storage capacity is decreasing, probably if you'll compare the speed, so this will be around size, okay? So all the storage that are very quick, okay, those are really costly, right? So that's why you can have a limited number of SSDs, or the amount of SSD is very limited, okay? And that's why the database is mostly on the disk based access, okay? Data is stored on the disk for the accessing purpose, or for the persistence, right? What is the use of the database? To keep the data persisted, right? What is persistence?
Even after power loss, we don't lose the data.
Yeah, so the data should be there, okay? Probably you can say ki, whenever you want, probably this system servers, you can bring another system, and probably whatever data that you want should be stored, and this should be persistent. Matlab, this should be most of the time it should be available, okay? But access cost of the database is slightly higher because you need to perform a disk based access, okay? Now, as part of that particular system, you thought of why not let's cache some of the data and store as part of the server, right? So what you did, you stored some part of the data here, okay, as the cache, okay, in the memory itself. So can it be called in memory cache, right? Now, instead of going and fetching the data from the database, probably what you will do, you will query directly in the cache that you have, and if you find the data, probably you will serve from there, and if you don't find the data, probably you will load from the database and update in your in-memory cache, right?
Yeah.
So this particular approach will work fine, okay, till you have limited amount of data, okay, or the traffic is very less, probably you have only one server, okay. Now let's suppose you are coming up with multiple server, okay. Okay, so you have added one more server here, okay, and one more server here, okay, and you have some typical load balancer, okay, which will forward all the requests, right? Now let's suppose all the traffic from this particular load balancer can reach to any of the servers, right? It can be round robin. Let's suppose if we are considering the round robin, so either we need to replicate all the data to all these servers, right? So all the servers need to maintain this in memory cache, right? Or probably we can use the sticky session based, or probably because of the some kind of partitioning, we'll say we will keep the user ID 1 to 100 data here, 100 to 200 probably here, and 200 to 300 probably here. Okay, and in this way, okay, we'll serve the data whenever the request will come for the user ID. Based upon that data, we'll route the request to that particular server, and from there we'll serve that particular data from the cache. Okay, this can be one of the approach, or you need to replicate this entire data multiple times on all the servers. Okay, so can you guys just list down few of the disadvantages with that approach?
Similar data may be stored at multiple servers.
So similar data is stored at multiple servers. Definitely one of the drawbacks. Okay, you need to replicate that data. Go ahead, Umang.
Let's say if server one is first find the data for the some user one, and he's and the server two, let's say after that user one data has changed, and then server two made a request, and server two has a new data, and server one still had have a old data. That
Correct.
time.
Correct. So it may happen, ठीक है, कि probably server one, ठीक है. So इसमें दो चीज था, right? One, either we'll partition the data based upon the user ID, ठीक है, or whatever the parameters we have, or keep the entire data. So if we have partition based upon, let's suppose, user ID, probably that problem might not occur, right? Because this particular server has only data till 1 to 100, and no other servers have data for 1 to 100. Okay? Or if we are replicating this entire data, then definitely that problem can come. Like all have this 1 to 100 data. Okay? Now let's suppose something got updated, and this server is correctly updated that particular record, and these servers have not updated till now. Okay? So probably the data will not be consistent. ठीक है, this will be one of the drawback. The data will not be consistent. ठीक है, agreed?
Yeah.
Okay. Now from the latency perspective, if we'll talk about, ठीक है, because we introduce the cache just to reduce the latency, right? So latency will decrease or not?
Yes.
Latency will definitely decrease, right? Because the cache is sitting at the server only, so it will be super fast, right? Now, can it be a trade-off between latency, ठीक है, here, and probably the consistency, ठीक है, and probably on the data size, because we need to just we are keeping the redundant data everywhere, ठीक है, or we need to have the complex logic of partitioning or distributing that particular request to every server based upon that user ID. So this is the trade-off between that, right? Now, one of the other approach can be, ठीक है, let's suppose can we keep a distributed cache, ठीक है, and all the servers are going to read from that particular cache, right? Yes or no? So instead of keeping the in-memory cache, all the servers are reading from a distributed cache, right? And the other and the previous approach where the servers were keeping the cache in memory, right? Server one, and this is cache data, right? So what do you think here? Which of these two architecture will result in a lower latency? The second one or the first one?
Lower latency first one.
Lower latency first one. Why? Because there is no network call to fetch the data, right? And the data is sitting just at the server. So probably you just need to make a query in memory cache query, okay? And it will directly give you the data, right? But if we'll talk about the consistency, which is more consistent, the approach one or two? Second approach, okay? If we talk about the simplicity perspective, or the first one is more simple or the second one is more simple? It is a kind of a dicey, because probably in the first approach, if you just replicating is wrong word, okay? If we are having the same data across all the servers, probably it will be easier to have, okay? But in this particular case, you need to set up a distributed cache, and all the servers need to make a query from there, right? So probably simplicity, we can just avoid the simplicity thing to this particular approach and not to this, but it can be vice versa. If you are just having the probably partitioning the cache data as well, so probably it will be difficult to implement rather than this one. Okay. Now why we actually use cache? Okay, this particular call, okay, if we just wanted to make this call, probably let's suppose if it can take around 500 millisecond on a rough number, okay, because the network latency will be there and some part on the reading side, okay, and probably this cache can take around from 5 millisecond, something like that, okay, and some part of the network latency. Even the cache service probably give the result in a single digit millisecond and less than probably 0.5 milliseconds sometimes, okay, but probably let's consider it is a 5 millisecond kind of a thing, but still it is a great improvement, right? Now
Yes.
what kind of data we cache? Okay, we took one example earlier, okay, where the user were calling the bill fetch service and the bill fetch service were querying the external service to fetch the data, right? Now this external service is going to take multiple seconds, matlab probably the response will come in seconds, okay. Now for each data if you call every time this external service, probably it's not going to help you, right? Because every time it will take time. So whenever the first time you have fetched this data, okay, you can update in cache and you can serve the data from the cache, okay. Or I'll give you an example. Let's suppose you guys saw the monthly reminder, right? Your bill is ready, just click on this link and view your bill, okay. Let's suppose you have paid the bill from PhonePe or Paytm, probably after the next month, and you will receive that particular mail or message, right? Your bill is ready, click here to view that. So how that particular thing happens? Whenever you have paid, that particular data is stored on their side. They have persisted this data, and probably on the next billing cycle, they will query on your behalf, update the bill, and will keep that particular bill in their cache. And as soon as you click on that link or you just enter your bill ID, probably it will be fetched within a single digit millisecond, right? So it will
Can you
drastically.
please reiterate this thing? Sorry for interrupting. Can you please reiterate this thing?
I'm not able to get your point.
Can you please reiterate this point? Just
Okay, okay. So what I said, let's suppose you have paid the bill, right, on the PhonePe or Paytm for let's suppose this month, okay. So they have persisted your bill number, okay, and whenever the next bill cycle arrive, probably on your behalf, okay, they fetches the bill from the biller, okay, keep it in their cache, okay, and send out a notification to you, okay, hey, your bill is ready, click on this link to view, okay, and you'll be immediately able to see that bill because that bill is in their cache. Either you click on that link or you just go to their site and enter the bill number, okay, and in both the cases it's going to be served in a single digit millisecond. Why? Because the bill was in the cache. But if it is not in cache, for every request they are going to hit the service provider, right, which is going to be a very costly operation, okay.
okay.
Or probably not the service provider, probably they can keep in the database as well, okay, but still that is going to take time. For a single call you might not feel the improvement, but let's suppose when you have, let's suppose 10,000 calls, okay, on each call, let's suppose even you are saving, let's suppose 50 millisecond, it is going to be a huge improvement, right? Because you are
Right.
charged on a compute time as well. So when we'll talk about the compute, we'll say how the pricing works and all, then you will see it's a great improvement, right? Now so most of you will be already aware of this particular topic, right? So when we have the cache, okay, we have the cache eviction, right? So what is cache eviction?
Some rules defined for when
Some
we
rules
should.
on which how you will evict the cache or evict the entry that is not required. Because what is the use of this cache, right? The use of this cache is to result in a cache hit. So cache hit is something when you have asked the data from the cache, it should return the data from here. It cannot say I don't have this data, right? So you should have some intelligent logic here, okay, based upon which you can increase the cache hit ratio, right? Now to achieve that, okay, there are cache eviction policies. So whichever data is not because see, cache is a costlier storage service, okay, because this needs to run on the main memory. That's why it is faster, right? So you can't have unlimited space of memory here. you need to save or optimize your storage. Okay. So for that, what you will do, you will evict all those data that is not required. So one of the most commonly used is the LRU, least recently used. So whatever data that you will access, you will keep on top, and whatever data is at the bottom, probably it is least recently used, and that can be evicted whenever the cache eviction happens. Okay. The other can be least frequently used. Okay. But that is not often used because that is a complex to implement. Okay. And there is a newer called sliding window one. Okay. We need to go not go into details of those things. Okay. How this everything works, but probably we need to understand what is cache eviction and how it actually works. Okay. Now, few of the interesting observation now. Okay. Till now we have saw how the cache is, what the basic operation cache performs. Okay. Now we'll say the cache policy, because see, on most of the use cases that you will work, okay, it will be a static kind of a data, right? Where, so it will be something like this. You have this server, you have the database, okay, and you have cache. So all the operations will be, the first call will go to cache, okay. If it is success, cache it, okay, then directly serve that, probably like this. Okay. We'll draw from here. Okay. The first call is cache. Okay. If it is cache hit, okay, it will return that data. Okay. If it is a cache miss, okay, it will call the database. Okay. And then it will update the cache, right? So this is one of the most common approach. Okay. Because most of the data that we currently have is static kind of a data. Okay. And you just want the cache to improve the latency. Okay. For those operations, even the in-memory cache operation can work. Okay. But even let's suppose we have the distributed cache, so it's always better to get that static data, keep in cache, and whenever the cache miss occurs, okay, you need to just get the data from DB and update in the cache. Okay. But now on a day-to-day basis, okay, for a system like Facebook, okay, Twitter, these are not the static data. Okay. These are the dynamic data, right? Now, how these things will work in a case of a dynamic data? Because earlier we used to have only one call, right? You will directly call the database, you will get the result from the database. Now, when you have a cache in between, okay, now you have this cache, okay, and you have the database, and let's suppose this cache is having some profile data, right? Now, whatever the update of the profile that you will do, okay, needs to be updated at both the place, cache and the database. Okay. Got this point? Because till before this, we saw the use case where the data was mostly static. Okay. Now the data is mostly dynamic. Okay. So for the dynamic data also we use the cache because we want to improve the latency experience. Okay. Because latency is a critical performance matrix. Okay. Now, for the dynamic data, how this will work? Let's suppose you will make a call here, okay, for a profile one, okay, and I'll serve the data from here. Okay, I got the profile one data and I served. Okay, let's suppose you did an update of the profile data. So how you think what will happen if I do an update? What should happen? Where the update call will go? To the cache or to the database?
Database maybe.
Okay, so update call went to database, right? This was the update call. Okay. Now again you made a read, right? So read will be served from the cache, and the cache have the prior information of the profile. It does not have the updated information, right? So on the read side, you will receive the stale data, right? You will receive stale data. How this problem will be solved?
We can first update the cache and then DB.
Okay. So the other approach can be you will make an update to the cache, okay, first, and then the cache will update or write the data to the database. Okay. In this particular case, the cache will have the most updated data. Okay. So the problem of staleness is went away. Okay. There can be one other mechanism. Okay. In the previous approach, when you were writing to the database, okay, or probably what you can do after writing to the database, you need to in sync update the cache as well. Okay. So probably the cache need to be in sync with the database. As soon as there is some update, it will nullify that data. That this particular data is now no longer valid. Okay. Whenever the user is requesting for that data, if he finds it, okay, this data is not valid, probably it will fetch from the database and then update. So based upon this, there are certain policy. Let's suppose this is write through. Okay. In this particular case, the write is gonna be performed on the cache and then on the database. So these are the theoretical concepts. So let's not go into details of this theoretical concept. Okay. You just need in cache updation directly. What if after cache updating cache has failed? Cache has failed. Okay. In this particular case, we need to understand. You said you have updated to cache and the cache has failed, right? So don't imagine the cache always to be a single server. Okay. Cache can also have all the capabilities that you used to have, like probably the replication. Cache can even persist that data. Okay. And probably whenever you have the load increasing, can you think because with a single servers or the single node will be able to serve that request?
No.
No, right? So you need to have the certain replicas of that cache. And how these replicas can be updated? The same way master slave architecture. So what is master slave architecture?
Something like we can allow write for one server and
So all the write will be received by this particular master node. Okay? And the slave has the responsibility of keeping in update with the master, right? So generally how it is happened, how it happens, let's suppose take it. This is the master. These are your slaves. Okay. So all the write operations that will come to the master node. Okay. And the master will send, okay, a communication regarding whatever has happened to the master to all the slaves. Okay. As soon as probably, let's suppose one of the slave went down in that particular case, right? So this connection will break. Okay. So in this particular case, okay, as soon as one of the node gets broken, master did not need to bother about some node has, because it has some other slaves as well, right? Now it will continue to update these slaves, and the slave responsibility is as soon as it comes back, okay, it need to request master for the partial synchronization. Okay. So partial synchronization can be something like probably give me the data from the last update. I'll give you the timestamp or probably snapshot till what time I have updated myself, and you can give me the data from there. If that is not possible, the slave needs to request a full synchronization. Okay. This is a complex process. The master needs to create a snapshot, okay, and deliver that snapshot to the slave. Slave needs to keep it updated with the snapshot. And once it is ready with that snapshot, it will make a connection and start receiving that regular update. Okay. And the other slave is anyway getting the update. What if the master fails? Similar problem, right? Whatever the same thing.
One of the slave need to be a master then.
Yeah, one of the slave needs to be act as the master. So in this particular case, all the slave needs to be aware of whatever the recent write till that time has happened, okay, and keep themselves updated. And whenever the connection is to the master is broken, probably they can elect a winner, right? Probably how it happens, and there is a zookeeper that manages can manage this. Redis is a popular cache service which has a service called Redis Sentinel. Okay, these things are not required. I'm just telling it. Redis Sentinel is something that is used to for the failover mechanism. Whenever the master fails, how the other slave will take over is configured in this particular thing. Okay, and I'll take separate lectures on this leader election. Okay, this is one of the interesting topics to have on the whenever we'll discuss Zookeeper. Probably we'll take the how the leader election works. Okay, but this is on a rough side is a master slave architecture. Okay. Coming back to the how cache actually operates. So Redis is one of the cache service. Redis is one of the mostly use the cache service. Redis is one, Memcache is one. Okay. These cache service you can imagine to be key value database. Okay. And why I'm saying this word database? Because go ahead. Okay. Why I'm telling the word database, because these cache service is actually a database. Okay. What happens in a database? In a NoSQL database, you have some keys, okay, and based upon that, you have some values, right? In the same way, here you have some key, and based upon that key, you have the values, okay? In the database, the value is persisted on the disk. Here, the data is kept on the memory, okay? Because it is faster. But it actually works like a database. And believe me, Redis you can use as a database as well. Like the Redis and some features, probably it will keep on updating to the disk as well. Okay. As soon as it receives a write, okay, all the write will happen on the main memory, right? But Redis can update synchronously to the disk as well. As soon as it receives any of the write, probably it will write to disk as well for the further keeping the data. Okay, so that the data does not get lost. Okay, but this all comes with a cost, right? If the Redis start doing the same thing, okay, each write operation will be costlier, right? Because you are writing to disk. So these all are the trade-offs where you want to take the trade-off, right? Whether you want that the cache system you have implemented for the reduce the latency, right? But on the name of availability or the name of persistence, you are increasing the latency. So it is a decision to take whether like what kind of decisions you want there. Okay? Whether you want to take that trade-off or not. Okay? Whether you want the trade-off of writing to disk or not. Because mostly, let's suppose if you can live up with the data or the cache server getting down, right? Cache is to help the system or the improve the performance of a system, right? So if the cache system will entirely go down, even your service can continue working on, right? So you need to take the decision how you want to proceed with that, whether you want to take that probably writing to disk or not. So Redis, just a second. Okay. Redis has all the following features. Okay. It can be highly available. Okay. It can replicate the data to multiple Redis nodes. Okay. It can be scalable, right? How it can be scalable? Probably it can partition the data based upon some keys, okay, to multiple Redis nodes. So in this way, we can achieve the scalability. Okay. How we can achieve the persistence? We can store the data on the disk as well. With each write, the Redis will probably write to disk, or probably what it can configure, let's suppose after 2 seconds, okay, take a snapshot, write to disk as well. Okay. You can configure that way, right? Probably that communication can happen after 2 seconds, 5 seconds, or whatever your use case is. So as a whole, it can be available, it can be scalable, it can be persistence as well. Okay. Whichever, okay, and it can recover from failover, right? Whenever let's suppose the master slave and using the Redis Sentinel, okay, you can elect a winner in case of the master goes down. So you can recover from the failover as well. So as a whole, these Redis system or this cache system has the provision of having available, scalable, persistent, and recover to the failover. But it highly depends on what exactly your use case. Okay? If your use case is for the static data, probably you can keep in-memory cache or you can keep a distributed cache. And as soon as some update happens, probably you can just invalidate that cache. Okay? And most of the static data operations are like that only. You make an update to a database, user delete that key from the Redis, and whenever it does not find that key in the cache, it will fetch the data from the database and update there. But you have all the provisions, and as the system design architect, you need to take a decision whether you want that multiple Redis cluster node to be available, or you want the scalability as well, or you want the persistent, or probably you can live without the persistent. If let's suppose this entire cache system goes down, okay, why you are persisting the data to the probably to disk? Just because as soon as the node goes down, so whenever it will recover back, okay, it knows ki in disk it has data, it just need to bring that data to the main memory, right? It will be as simple as this operation. If you don't have this data in the disk, probably you need to call the database and update the data in the main memory. So you need to take this trade-off whether you want the data to be persisted or not. If you're fine, the system getting down, and whenever it comes back, it just need to call that database and get the data. It is fine for that particular case. Okay. Any questions? Any question? Persistence and consistency are same. No, persistence is something probably you need to persist that data, right? Like whenever, let's suppose if this particular system goes down, and when it will come again, it has already persisted the data in the disk. It just need to fetch the data from disk and update in the main memory. And consistency is something like, let's suppose you have some cache data here and you have some database here, and you made an update on a database, okay? And if this cache has some older data and the database has updated data, this is called stale data, right? So this will result in a probably the staleness problem, or this can result in a consistency problem. Correctness of data, you can say. Any other question? And for the AWS, you have the service called Elastic Cache. Okay. Elastic Cache, where you need to configure the nodes. Okay. Just a question. For a cache node, okay, the server should be RAM intensive or storage intensive? What do you think? RAM intensive it can be, because it needs to store in the main memory. Okay. So mostly you will see in the Elastic Cache, the server option that you have is on the R series. Okay. R series and M series. So M series is the general purpose. Okay. General purpose, and R series, as the name states, it is RAM extensive. So if anyone have opened a AWS account in the Elastic Cache service, just try to create a cache node, okay, and then you will see the option of R series and the M series. R series, against R series, you will see the RAMs are very extensive, very high RAM.
Ravi, there is one more AWS service, DynamoDB DAX.
Yeah.
Is it layer from?
Correct. So DynamoDB probably was the database, and the DAX was added. The DAX acceleration is added as one of the mechanisms over DynamoDB to reduce the latency even further. The Dynamo itself guarantees a single-digit millisecond, and the DAX even guarantees the less than a single-digit millisecond, probably 0.5 millisecond or less than that, nanosecond kind of a latency. Yeah. When we'll go to the database section, where we'll see the Dynamo RDS and other AWS databases, there we'll see the DAX uses as well. Okay. Mostly the DynamoDB is self-sufficient